everyone. I'm less notable as Jay, but my name is Pat Patterson. Welcome to Meetup Live. I'm the Director of Performance Marketing here at Meetup. And today, as you know, I'm joined by our special guest, Jay Glazer. He is the author of the new book, Unbreakable. And as you probably already know, commentator for Fox NFL Sunday, which won an Emmy last night. So congrats to Jay.
Thank you.
There you go. And today we're going to have just an honest conversation on the often overlooked issue about male mental health. So in today's conversation, you'll learn how to spot the signs of struggle early and why it's never too late to make a change to prioritize your health, which is important. Now, probably, it's always been important, but maybe now more than ever in the digital age we're in.
I just want to say right here too, it's not just male mental health. I mean, we're all in this together.
True.
So I want to make sure we're tackling it together as a whole. We've got to build one big badass team together. If we're going to, really fight back in a way that we could succeed through all the issues that we're going through between the years.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, good correction there. Definitely focusing on mental health across the board. You can give your perspective from your background, right?
Right.
But we want to make sure that we're inclusive here, right? Mental health is important to everyone. Yeah, and Jay will also share, thing that, Meetup has in common, right? The role that community can play in the struggle and the recovery, especially, those who feel even stigmatized by mental health illness. So before we get started, I just want to do some really quick housekeeping, go over the guidelines and the agenda. So this event is recorded, and we'll share this afterwards. We'll share it on our blog and on our Meetup YouTube page. Don't worry if you think you're going to be on video, you're not on video. I'm sorry if you put a nice shirt on like me, still in gym shorts though. You're not on camera, but don't worry if you thought you were going to be on camera. Also, audio is muted. The chat for the event will be turned off for this webinar. So please, any questions you have, submit them at the Q&A feature in this Zoom. And then we also have closed captioning available. So at the bottom of the screen, click the icon there and you can select your preference for that. So quick housekeeping there. And now I'm going to dive into introducing Jay more formally. So Jay Glazer is a TV personality and National Football League insider for Fox Sports Emmy award-winning NFL pregame studio show, Fox NFL Sunday. The entire cast, including Jay, became the first sports show inducted into the Television Hall of Fame in 2019. Mad props for that.
Thank you.
He is also a part of Fox Thursday Night Football. He was one of the first ever minute-by-minute breaking online news reporter in the NFL, first for CBSSportsline.com in 1999, followed by FoxSports.com. In 2007, Glazer created the first mixed martial arts training program for pro athletes in America and has trained over 1,000 pro athletes. In 2014, he co-founded the Unbreakable Performance Center, a private training facility frequented by Wiz Khalifa, Chris Pratt, Demi Lovato, as well as numerous NFL, NHL, and MMA athletes. Glazer starred as himself in all 5 seasons of HBO Ballers. In 2015, he and a former U.S. Army Green Beret, Nate Boyer, founded the charitable organization MVP, standing for Emerging Vets and Players, to assist combat veterans and former professional athletes who often face a tough road adjusting to civilian life. So thank you, Jay, for being with us today. That's one robust resume. We're very thankful for having you joining us and talking about your journey. Love to get the conversation started. I think the first question that I have for you that people would like to know about is, you have a passion now. Obviously, you have a big background in broadcasting and sports, but you have a passion now for mental health. And, can you share how you became so passionate about mental health?
Yeah, first, I want to say, thank you for everybody for showing up. This is important. What I'm trying to do here is give this words. One thing God blessed me with is the ability to communicate. And I've got to be able to do that now and try and give mental health words. We say mental health, we talk about it, and people say, I'm struggling mental health, but what does that really mean? So I want to be able to describe it for everybody so they can have the words to talk to their significant other or parent or friends or kids or coworkers, but also kind of give some guidelines or game plans, if you will, some plans to help themselves out and get themselves out of the gray. I call it the gray and into the blue, And we've got to do it together. It's what I said earlier. We've got to stick together and do this and fight this fight together and walk this walk together. So the reason why I started it, and I want to really stress this, you mentioned all these great things that I've done, and they are incredible. And I'm grateful I've been able to do all that. But despite all that, there's not a day that I wake up where I don't feel in this gray. And I feel like the sky is falling. The universe is crashing down around me. I feel it in my joints, in the left side of my gut, behind my rib cage, and it's an every single day occurrence. And it sucks. And I did not sign up for this. It's not something I asked for. It's not something I said, oh, let me get some mental health issues so I can start talking about it. I don't want to have these issues. But it's an everyday thing. And every day of my life, I've had to make the decision to get out of bed. And sometimes it's harder than others. And once I do get out of bed, I had to make that decision to go be relentless with the rest of my life. And my book is titled How I Turn My Depression and Anxiety into Motivation. And you can too. And it really has, I've learned over the years, has motivated me. And we talked about all those things I've done. When you have this, and my mental health issues are depression, clinical depression, anxiety, ADHD, and my doctors are arguing right now back and forth whether I have bipolar or not. So since I want to choke them out for it, I'm thinking I pretty much throw that in. And that has led me to a life of feeling unworthy of all the things that you talked about, unworthy of feeling love from the inside out. So that has motivated me to go do all these great things to get some love from the outside in, and hope that one day they meet in the middle. And I'm not there yet. I'm getting there, but it really is an everyday thing for me. And I know you look at me and say, man, how could this guy have mental health issues, depression, anxiety? His life is great. My life is great, but between my ears is not. And like I said, I did not sign up for that.
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Jay, for being vulnerable.
Sure.
and sharing, how you're feeling, and putting, more description behind, right, the terms mental health, which I think you're right. We need to describe that a little bit better. And I'll be vulnerable too. It's funny what you said, everything that you said, I can identify with, right? So growing up, I had terrible anxiety, social anxiety. Now later in my life, I've had depression, right? And also ADD. Right. And my family has a history of bipolar disorder. So I'm struggling as well, and maybe people can't see it. I don't know.
Welcome to the club, baby.
Right. Right. So it's more common than you think. And I think it's good to talk about it, because people don't realize, like you said, that maybe you're struggling because of your personality and who you are, and they see you on TV. Right.
And look how great this is that you're now able to open up and talk about this, where you probably wouldn't have a year ago, or 2 years ago, 3 years ago. But now we're making it okay. And, we talk about how much we open up about this. Look, I talked about my baby sister and Michael Strahan, because I can't say anything about him without getting a dig in. But I didn't tell him about these issues until shortly before the book came out. It's the first time I'd ever said, look, I had a really, really, really bad anxiety attack. Terrible one night. And I call it the beast getting out of the box. And when I have these anxiety attacks, it really is, it's suffocating. My hands shake, my eyes go back and forth. I start sweating like crazy. I feel like I'm having a heart attack. And the first 12 years, when I first started having these really bad anxiety panic attacks, I was getting my heart checked out for having a heart attack, because we didn't talk about anxiety attacks or mental health back then. So we didn't know what it was. Right. And since then, I had somebody last week tell me they almost got their gallbladder removed, because doctors thought it was the gallbladder when it was just anxiety attacks. And I say just, which is, they're powerful. But again, doctors didn't really know what they were dealing with. So I tell Michael, this is the first time I've ever said to him, look, man, I can't go out tonight because the beast has gotten out of the box. And he said, you want me to come over? And I said, no, I just got to get to sleep tonight. He said, you want to talk about it? I said, not tonight. I do, but not tonight. And he said, why have you never told me about this? And I said, I don't make up the rules of this. For whatever reason, with you, I felt ashamed. And he said, yeah, but if you had told me, I could have been there all these years for you, and you took away my chance as a friend to be there for you. So that's one of the reasons it's so important for me to talk about. Every single time I've opened up about this with someone, No one's told me to suck it up. No one's told me, oh, Glazer, you're a wuss. Oh man, your life was great. Stop complaining. Nobody. In fact, it's got me closer together with them instead. So the more I could show you what the reaction has been between my friends and I, maybe you'll feel more comfortable to opening up to your friends and your coworkers and your family as well.
Yeah. Like I can also, right, again, like empathize with you. You know, I think you're absolutely right. And hopefully people can get the sense of what you're saying
Right.
too, that like sharing, and you don't always, you perceive they're going to get one reaction, but you might not always have that reaction. Right. And I think
Right.
you're right. Right. The mental health is probably the most important aspect of health. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but in my opinion, I had similar issues before where my anxiety was so bad. I had terrible hair loss, right? I had spots of hair missing. And
You got great hair now, man.
Yeah, right. And they couldn't tell me why, but it was due to anxiety, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy how the impact your mind can have
Yeah.
on your physical, how your body reacts to that.
Yeah. And we don't attack mental health proactively the same way we do our physical health. And we don't look at our mental health scars the same way we do our physical health. Think about this. When you break your arm, you get a cast, everybody signs it. You're proud of it. It's a badge of honor, right? Mental health, though, I'm talking about how we hide from it. Or, I talk to football teams and I say, you guys don't just run 40s when you think you're getting slow. You don't just catch passes when you think you have the drops. You do it all the time. Well, why don't we do that with our mental health? We need to be more proactive with our mental health. And that means calling your therapist more or finding a therapist and talking more. But I said, the problem is that there's not enough therapists for us right now. And also, we're trying to get people to understand therapists are coaches. Take away that a lot of people are afraid to go to therapists. So I'm trying to take that away as well. They're just coaches. They're people who coach us up. But in the meantime, when we can get enough therapists for us, we need to be each other's therapists. We need to lean into each other. And when you lean into each other, you just get so much closer together. That'll make your team so much tighter.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you too. In terms of, I know you mentioned a lot of different things. One thing I want to maybe focus on too is people. You mentioned how like kind of you didn't want to initially tell Michael Strahan how you've been feeling. Like, can you maybe talk about from your experience, and then maybe relate it back to others? Like, do you think there's a stigma still with mental health? Like, how do you, like in terms of that stigma? Like, what do you have advice on how to help people overcome that kind of stigma that surrounds it?
Right. Like I said, I think we're way further ahead this month than we were 2 months ago, 5 months ago, 10 months ago, 24 months ago. Way further ahead, no doubt. And I also want to really point out that I do not let my mental health issues ever win the day. Never. If they're really hit me, I don't miss work. I don't let them keep me at home. I just don't let them win the day. But what I do now is when I'm really struggling, and this is, talking about how we kind of attack it. Now I will call on days, and I had one this morning, be totally transparent and honest with everybody here. I've been on the phone with my therapist before I did this today, because it was crazy. I had a great thing that happened last night and winning the Emmy. And then sometimes when great things happen, I'll feel like the sky is falling because I almost deserve something bad to happen after something good happens. And that's what the roommates in my head tell me. And it's not true. And it's not real. But man, it feels real too often. So I know what I have to do. I have to take action for it. So I call my therapist and melt it down there. But I'll also call 4 other people or talk to 4 other people. And I'll let them know I'm really struggling. I say, man, today, the roommates in my head are not getting along well. I'm just struggling. I just need to tell someone. Just one of those days. And everybody has had the same reaction of either wanting to be there for me or somebody going, man, me too.
Yeah.
And it's helped them. So I'll call 4 people or talk to 4 people, tell them I'm struggling today. And then I'll call 4 other people just to check up on them so I could be of service. One of the things I talk about a lot in my book is being of service. That helps me through the gray a lot. So I'll check up on 4 other people to see how they're doing, because that tends to get the gray skies to part a little bit. But, when I first started coming out, I was actually at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago in Tampa, and I called 4 friends of mine and said, I need to meet up for dinner tonight. And they all had plans. And I said, no, I need to meet up for dinner tonight. I am struggling. And all 4 canceled their dinner plans. And when I showed up, they're like, why didn't you ever tell us? I said, I didn't know if I knew how to in the past. And now I do. Right. Yeah. So now I am. And 2 of them said, man, Glaze, we go through it too, but yeah, we don't know how to talk about. We don't know who to talk to about it. So now they do. And now we're on a chain and we talk to each other. And that was the, I think, kickstart for me to just pulling the Band-Aid off and telling anybody and everybody.
Yeah. Was that the first time that you kind of shared?
The first time I shared that I leaned into, so it's interesting. It was the first time I leaned into friends like that, where I specifically said, man, I'm struggling. I need to meet. But in the past, when I've trained with my training partners are the baddest dudes on the planet. They're Randy Couture and Chuck Liddell and people like that. They are the best. And after we would beat the hell out of each other, we would sit in the cage and we cried to each other. We'd open up to each other. We'd talk about our many our many divorces and our issues that we've had, and you know, our issues. And it's funny because I remember people would walk past the cage and we'd be crying and they're like, wow, these guys really beat the hell out of each other in there. And they didn't know that we were just crying about our issues that we're going through and what's causing us depression, anxiety. And listen, there's also a difference between problems and mental health issues, right? Because problems can cause it.
Sure.
And, you know, we have, again, I have built-in issues, right? These clinical issues. And another reason I am trying to talk about it is, even if you don't have a clinical issue, we're all going through something. The social media makes us all think our lives suck because we compare ourselves to everybody else's fake filtered fraction of 1 second of one day.
Yeah.
Or on Twitter, we just see people talk terrible to each other, and the human condition is not meant for that. So, you know, I think we're all going through something one way or the other here. And that's why, you know, even if you don't have the clinical level, we're all facing something between our ears these days.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was taking some notes because I want to come back to a few things you talked about, but I wanted to first talk about, you know, I think it's great that you're in the spot you are now and you can join us on Meetup Live and share your story. And if I'm prying too much at any point, feel free to push back, obviously. Man. But is there, when you came, now it seems like you talked about having the supportive group. Was there like one thing or like one tipping point that really pushed you to like open up? Or was it like a combination of events in your life? Like, how did you get to the point where you felt comfortable, like just that journey? Because people are probably in the early phases and they aren't where you are yet, right?
It was kind of by accident. Because I started this foundation now 7 years ago, MVP, Emerging Vets and Players, where we take former combat vets who are struggling and merging them together with at first it was NFL players, but now it's all athletes. But when their uniform comes off, and putting them in groups together, and we train for about a half hour to give that burn again. But then after, we sit around these mats and we have what we call the huddle. And it's a mental health talk. And we've had incredible success with preventing suicide, even getting some of our veterans off disability. Our first 5 years, we did not have a suicide. And we've had since from a group where a lot of our members attempted before that. It was really powerful. And it was, again, this power of community that we had in there. And somebody asked me, I was writing for something called The Athletic. And I was doing a mailbag, and it was an NFL thing. And somebody said, hey, where do you get some of the things you talk about in these huddles with the vets and the athletes that you have had so much success there? And I said, it's really my own depression, anxiety that I was born with, and be able to kind of be vulnerable with this group. And I described a little bit, and man, the reaction was like, wow. And I didn't expect it. I wasn't expecting that. And just this, oh my gosh, this guy's talking about it. Me too. And wow, I have this also.
In a good way.
Wow. Right. In a wow. So the people who ran the Athletic said, can you do a whole thing on this? And I said, sure. So I wrote about it. And then everybody called and said, hey, can you come on our show and talk about it? I said, sure. And that's when I realized it could help people. And when the book, so people have been trying to get me to write football book for years. And I don't want to, because I don't want to look over my shoulder for all the secrets I have. And I was at an event one night for a friend named Mike Bayer. And Mike is a life coach on Dr. Phil. And these people came over and said, hey, we don't know who you are, but everyone here is talking about you. But we're really confused by who you are. You're a vet? I said, I'm not a vet. I just help vets out. And somebody said, no, he's an actor. I said, I'm not an actor, but I'm on Ballers for 5 years with The Rock, but I'm not an actor. I'm just playing my normal knucklehead self. Somebody said, no, I think he's Demi Lovato's trainer. I said, well, I am, but that's not my career. And then Dr. Phil walks over and says, the Cowboys going to re-sign Dak Prescott. And these people are like, why is Dr. Phil coming over asking Demi Lovato's MMA coach about the Cowboys? So they're so confused. They said, we've got to write a book. You've got to do a book. And so we don't know how to put it all into one thing. And I said, I'll do a book as long as I could be of service to people. And I think the way to be of service is to not just help the vets and athletes, but now use what I've learned from that group and give it to the world and help everybody else out. So that's really how this whole thing came about, where now it's, man, we're on a freight train just going forward, trying to run the gray over.
Man, that's great. And it's, first of all, I just want to say that when I learned about MVP, I didn't know about it originally. That's such an awesome program.
Thank you.
I mean, I get it, right? Like vets, players, uniform. I mean, they're transitioning different life, and just kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you. It's a totally different job. I get it, because people, when I first did it, they're like, veterans and athletes. No, I said, no, I get it. But the transition is the same level of suck. And I looked at all our vets, and they're overseas and they do such incredibly great things. And then when they come back over here, they're told, keep it quiet. Don't talk about it. When everybody else lies on their resume to get a job, they go the other way, and their transition is really tough because they lose their team. They lose their identity. They lose their daily schedule, and they come back over here and they're like, oh, I'm different. I'm like, no, you're different. Different is good. Let's change the way you talk about the word different. Different is good. Different leads to success. And then same with our NFL players. They finish up and they used to be like, oh, I used to play in the NFL. I'm like, no, dude, you play in the NFL, and you play in the NFL is not who you are. What's behind your rib cage that got you to beat out millions and millions and millions to be on that level? That's who you are. And that suddenly doesn't just leave when the uniform comes off. But who is there to remind them of their greatness? Both of them. When it's over. So I figured, let's put them on a team together. And I talk a lot in my book about finding your team. Let's put them on that team to remind them what their greatness is. And the results have been incredible. We're now, like I said, 7 years in 8 cities.
Yeah, love it. And I love that concept around team. And it doesn't have to be a sports team.
Right.
I mean, right. It's that's your community that you rely on. You help each other out. You're of service to each other. Right.
That's one of my pillars in my book, is find your team. And people say, I don't have a team. Yeah, we certainly have a team. God's a team for me. That one up there, my rescue pit who just passed was a team for me. My son's a team. Listen, I'm 53. I just got engaged. This is the first time I found love. And
congratulations.
Thank you. I never felt worthy of it, or I pushed everybody else away, or I sabotaged it. And because I've been able to open up here now I have this teammate. First time I felt worthy of this team. My Fox NFL Sunday crew is a team. My fight team's a team. This is a team for me. We have teams right in front of us every day, but we don't realize sometimes we just look at things transactionally, and it's not. This for me right now, this is lifting me up because I'm on here with 500 strong, thinking, man, this is a great team to have together. So there are teams that we all have that we lean into. My work, your work is a team. There's different communities and teams. You could have a religious group. You could sign up for a charity. That could be a team for you. There's teams everywhere. Yeah,
definitely agree. Love that everyone on this call is a team. I love in your book, you said you joined the team by reading this book. Honestly, that inspired me when I picked it up and started reading through it. I'm going to share one quick story about me. And then I have another question for you, because you're being vulnerable. So I'm also going to be vulnerable as well. So I struggled, like I said, with depression as well. Through the pandemic, I became a little bit of an alcoholic. I'm 1 year sober as of April 24th.
Nice job. Good for you.
One of the first things I started to do is I started reaching out to all my friends from college, people I lost connection with, family. And honestly, like having that community, like you said, is just, it's a game changer. And not only that, I reach out to people who I know were struggling too, and they're actually trying to quit drinking as well. And like, I feel better for myself, like having the conversation with them, you know.
That's
I think
amazing.
you're totally
And
right.
that's you being able to, be of service, but also have teams, which is amazing.
Exactly.
Right. And that's you being of service when you're reaching out to them. And that's my other pillar, is being of service of, hey, being of service doesn't have to include us spending money, right? This, you calling them and finding out and, okay, helping others find sobriety, that's you being of service. And the gray hates when we're of service, right? Our mental health issues hates when we do that, because now there's power in numbers and we're doing something that that lifts us up.
Yeah. Love it. Absolutely. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing your stories. It helps me share mine as well. Hopefully that helps other people on the call. So you talked about community already. That's a big part of it. Are there any other techniques that you've used that you can share that have helped you kind of overcome some of the struggles the day to day? Or
right. So I'm going to give you two, one that I now wake up with and one I go to sleep with.
Okay.
Right. And I didn't have this before I opened up. So I literally just learned these this year. And that's, I think I'm going to try and write a second book where it's all these things that I've learned that I know have helped me, that could hopefully help the world. So now when I wake up in the morning, okay, so I used to wake up a million times in the middle of the night. I used to look at this thing. Nothing good happens on this. Okay. We're not actually the heir to a Nigerian prince and we won $2 billion. That doesn't really happen to any of us. So there's nothing but problems on this normally. So before I ever wake up now and look at this, I will get up, and I've learned how to do breath work, and it calms down my nervous system. And because a lot of times in the middle of the night, something will wake me up with this anxiety, and I don't even know what it is. I don't know what triggers it. And it's not fair because I'm sleeping and it wakes me up. That's not fair.
Yeah.
So I wake up like feeling that caving in the chest already. So I start with I'll put on 3 songs. I'll do breath work for the 3 songs. And what I do is I'll give a just quick thing here. I breathe in 4 through my belly and then 8 out. So I'll do that for the first song. Then I do, and you can see online, there's a million breath work techniques. So Google them. I learned from different people. These are the ones I happen to like. So the second one I do is 4 into my chest. I hold for 4 and out for 4. And the third song I do is 4 into my chest, hold for 4, out for 8. So I do that. Then, and when I'll put on another song and I'll just lay back and I'll think for what I'm grateful for. Things I'm grateful for. So start in gratitude. I'll then write down 10 things I'm grateful for from the day before. Now, I went to Thailand last year and they asked me to write 100 things I'm grateful for. A guy like me should be the easiest thing in the world. But I was so self-loathing, it took me a week, and I'm embarrassed to say this, a week to write down 100 things I'm grateful for that have happened to me in my entire life. And they had to guide me through it. And I felt almost guilty for doing any of it. And they got it down, but then it began, and they said it could be anything. It could be superficial things. It could be artificial things. It doesn't matter. Just things you're grateful for. So it became for me, sunrise, sunset, the universe, my son, my dog licking me, breaking a story, my Fox NFL Sunday team, certain memories I've had. And I was able to get through the 100, but now I'm able to do it every day. I write down 10 things I'm grateful for. So I do 3 songs of breath work, one song of gratitude, or things I'm proud of, I could throw that into. And then 10 things I'm grateful for before I ever look at this in the morning. That takes 15 minutes. So it's just a better way to start my day.
Yeah.
Okay. And going to bed at night now, I also have really bad insomnia. I'm just going to keep throwing my elements out there.
So do I.
You do have clinical insomnia where, man, it's just been brutal since I was a little kid. I think and plot and plan, and my brain goes to the worst all the time. And those 15 minutes, I used to lay my head at night on that pillow alone with someone I did not know how to like or love were brutal for me. Really, really painful for me. So now I lay down and I go over 3 things from the day that were really cool. And I appreciate, celebrate, and smile. So let me explain.
Yeah.
This is one of them. Okay. I'll just take this. I'll really appreciate this. Okay. And then I was taught this by these monks in Thailand. Right. They said, then we want you to celebrate it. Like celebrate this like you're at a party. Like really celebrate this in your heart. Throw a party in your heart. Make sure you smile. Because when you smile, your brain releases these certain chemicals, endorphins, that make you happier. And your brain actually doesn't know if your smile is fake or real. So if you smile, your brain just releases these chemicals and it makes you happier. So we appreciate, celebrate, and smile for these 3 different things. I throw a party in my heart. So I go to bed at night having just come home from a party. Now think about when you normally do come home from a party. You're buzzing, you're high, you're sky high. And it usually is a better way to wake up the next morning, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I force myself to go to bed every single night, having just come home from a party.
That's really good advice. I think you're hitting on some key moments in your day, right?
Right.
The beginning of your day, which can set you one way or another, right? And like the end of your day. And then I think it does help with your sleep. I've done something similar recently where I do, it's 3 things. I do like celebrate, I do the gratitude, 3 gratitudes, and then I do tomorrow 3 things I'm going to focus on to make myself better. And I check my sleep score on my Fitbit. And since I started doing that, my sleep has been better.
Really?
And
see, I won't look at it.
All I've changed is doing that. Isn't that wild?
I won't look at it because I know I'm messed up. I don't want to be reminded of my messed upness. And my sleep's still not under control yet. So I just don't. Once I get my sleep better under control, I'm all about it. Yeah. But I know it's changed people's lives.
It's not an impressive sleep score, but it's incrementally better when I do that before bed. And that's the only thing I've been changing.
Good. I like it. I love
that. Yeah.
And I'm going to introduce that really soon. I just did a sleep study and I think we're gonna get some, I'm hoping some different ways for me to handle that. And once we do it, they'll get me on that.
Yeah, but that party in the heart metaphor, I love that.
Right?
I'm going to use that.
Thank you. Good. Start it tonight. And everything that I'm talking about here today, start it today. Don't wait for a week from now. Don't wait for a day from now. Start it today.
Yeah, definitely. The sooner the better, right? I mean, and then things compound, become habitual.
Right.
I think you're absolutely right. So you mentioned you brought up your phone and you talked up for like a second about social media. And I want to ask because obviously you're a personality, right?
Yeah.
People know who you are. People talk to you online. Social media can be great, right? But it can be toxic.
No,
how do you cope? I mean, right? Well, I mean, maybe the intention behind it, right? Originally was
it can be great for things like that, where we can do things like this where I can reach out to a lot more people than I could have in the past.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But your question was, how do I handle that?
Yeah. How do you cope with the negative aspects of it? I'm sure people talk to you negatively, and anybody in general, like people can get bullied. Like, what is your advice for dealing with all of that?
So people think just because you're famous, you have fame or money, that our feelings don't hurt. That is not the case. In fact, because I'm so sensitive and emotional, it's got me to where I am. So I think I'm a lot more emotional and sensitive than most. So it hurts as much or more than others in my life, at least. And my wallet is not an antidepressant. I wish it was, but it's just not the case. And I know this because the first 11 years of my career, I was making $9,450 a year, living in some really bad parts of New York City I had no right living in. And I just decided I was going to struggle as long as I could. And that's where my depression, anxiety helped me.
Yeah.
Because I felt worthless, I was like, you can live in this crap. You can handle this. This is where you belong. It's where you deserve to be. So I was able to survive it all. And again, I kind of look for things now where the depression, anxiety help me. Like being in chaos of this helps me in so many different areas of my life. I could do 8 things at once. I could keep calm when everything is falling apart around me. I'm golden. I suck in calm, but I'm great in chaos. And as a result too, I cause a lot of chaos at times. And sometimes it helps me in business. Sometimes it hurts me. But the social media end of it, it definitely hurts our feelings. I will tell you that almost all my friends I know have people now do their social media so they never have to look at it ever again.
Yeah.
It's not us on there. And it is, look, like I said, the Instagram part and the Facebook part where you're filtering what you're doing. So how are our kids, I don't know how kids deal with it these days, where they're comparing themselves to everybody else's filtered fraction of a second. Think about it. It's not even a full second of a day. What about the other almost 24 hours of a day? What about that? We're just seeing that and we're saying, man, how come my meal doesn't look like this? How come my car doesn't look like this? How come I don't have this job? How come I'm not at this vacation? It's a lot of pressure. It sucks. And we always feel left out. When we were left out as kids, it wasn't thrown in our face. It is now. Or on Twitter, listen, we got bullied in a playground growing up. I'm from the Jersey Shore. It really sucked. And it sucked for like a month. But now we get bullied, or we see someone getting bullied 100 times a second, 1,000 times a minute. It doesn't stop. I don't think the human condition is meant for that. So it's hard. So I'm trying to get social media to be used for good, but it's difficult. So I don't look at comments anymore. I have people send me, person who does my social media sends me the DMs they want me to see and shields me from the other ones. And it's unfortunate it's like that, but I believe what happens also is, and I have a line in my book here from now the head coach of the Denver Broncos, Sean Payton, where he said, hurt people hurt people. And
Yeah,
we're all so hurt these days by feeling so left out or by being so bullied that we tend to hurt so many others. And that's all Twitter's turned into. So, I would love for us to be able to, I don't know what the answer to that is. I don't know how that's going to change, but it's got to change. Or this suicide epidemic we're caught in is just going to get worse and worse and worse. We've got to somehow come together and change it. And I think that we're talking about it now. It helps. What drives me, what I can't understand is we talk so much about the bullying and then we still see it happening. Like we see videos, right, of kids just horribly bullying other children and or handicapped children. I'm like, how does this still go on? How does this still happen? So we're not there yet, but I hope we're on the right track.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough question. I'm glad you're able to shine some light on how you've dealt with it. I think that's all you can really say, how you've dealt with it, especially in the position you're in. I'm in similarly, I try to ignore a lot of things. And I think,
but we didn't sign up for a job that we have to ignore this stuff. We signed up for a certain job to do our job, not to get, think about this. I tell people all the time, would you ever show up to someone's business and go, hey, you suck. Hey, everybody around here, look at the person sitting next to you. They're terrible at what they do for a living. You would never do that. You would show up to your accountant's office, maybe your accountant's office, but you wouldn't show up to your, somebody's office or somebody at a restaurant and just start screaming how bad they are. And you don't know them at their job, or go to their house and say, hey man, your dad is this and your kid is this. You wouldn't do that, but that's what we do on Twitter. It's not how we're supposed to act.
It's easy when you're far away. No one can see you, right? But I think the other thing that you said too is important, which is recognizing that people aren't sharing their true self, right? It's like on Instagram, right? They're sharing their best moments too. I think like getting to that realization, you shouldn't be comparing yourself against other people. Like, so I forget, I mean, it's been said in a lot of books, a lot of different people, but like, just compare yourself versus a previous version of yourself. And that's all you can do, right?
Sure.
Because it's about you and getting better.
Yes, absolutely.
I think people need to realize that too. And I think, like you said, like people wouldn't harass you, right? If they're across the street, like we need to have real conversations with people,
Right.
Like have an actual conversation.
But I had somebody, and I think people are now starting to talk to you the way they tweet. Because I had a guy approach me recently in a restaurant, and I've even kind of removed myself from these situations, but he came up to me and he says, hey, Jay, the UFC sucks. And I said, okay. I handled it way differently than I probably would have in the past. I said, okay, and turned back around this way. And the guy said, what do you think of Conor McGregor? And I said, what do you care? He just said the UFC sucks. And he said, I just don't know how to talk to you, but I want to talk to you. I said, so that's what you lead with?
Yeah.
But that's what we're starting to talk that way because of Twitter. And I'm asking everybody on here, if you recognize yourself doing it, stop. Realize that you're doing damage and realize that's not what you want to do to your fellow man or woman. You don't want to do this. That's someone's kid you're talking to, someone's mom or dad you're talking to. Let's change our ways.
No, I completely agree. I love it. Thank you for making that statement. Hopefully people here can agree with that as well. This team here that we have, I do want to make sure we have time for questions. I want to ask you one more, and then maybe we'll hop into the audience. I have some Q&A that if anyone has questions, ask it in the Q&A section, and we'll try to get to them all. So can you share some resources for those of who are in attendance here today? And we'll also share this elsewhere, so it'll spread out as well. For those looking for help, but are just don't even know where to start. Like, what is your advice for that?
I actually just signed up for BetterHelp, which is online therapist. And I usually have like 3 therapists at once. I still use a guy in Thailand. I use somebody else who's actually working with my brain health. Because I've got my brain, I used to tell people I know I've been hit a lot, so I don't need to be told where I'm messed up without giving me a solution to my messed upness. I know I'm good, but now there's better solutions with different supplements and different treatments you could do. So I just started doing that. And then I also have just a regular therapist, if you will. I just went to BetterHelp to go on there because it's telemed. It's just on Zoom. So I've used that. And I know there's just, and you can probably listen, there's a bunch of hotlines out there, but my resources are more people in my life than those. That's why I tend to now lean into that. And I want to tell people this too. When I opened up about this, a lot of people said, oh, aren't you going to be worried at work? What they're going to say at work? And I was to a point, but I was more excited how I could help others out.
Yeah.
And the reaction was the president of Fox said, wow, we didn't know about all this. No one did. And when I tell you also, like I have panic attacks every time I've been on the air from 2005 to now. And I don't know why. And I don't know why it started then, because I started on air in 93. So I don't know. And I was in empty Raider Stadium. Don't know why, what happened, but I thought I was getting choked out and, it was brutal. And then it became habitual every single time. And they were like, well, why don't you tell us? I'm like, well, first of all, it's live TV. I can't stop and go, oh man, I'm having a panic attack right now, an anxiety attack. Well, let me hyperventilate. I can't do this right now. Okay. And I also, it's their show too. I don't want to ruin their show. So I've had to learn how to deal with it myself. And I call it wrestling with my abuser. Well, when I came out with it, the president of Fox said he bought a book for everybody in the company and then had me do a Zoom for everybody in the company and a fireside chat in a theater on the Fox line. So not only did they not shun me, not only did they not say, hey, why don't you take some time off, which I think is what people's fear is also, they said, wow, let's use this to be of service. We're proud of you. And that was the reaction I got. And since that day, a lot of people have opened up at Fox to me, to their bosses, to each other. And they've had a better support system as a result.
Just about to ask that. That's such a good story.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer, like having good intentions, like putting good in, good will come out. Yeah. And I think that's what you were doing, right? Like you had just finished with saying, like being of service to others.
Being of service. Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, this is a good time of transition. We're going to share the slide for your book. And I think in the chat, we have some team members who are going to share the links to where they can find your book and also to where they can find you online.
And I want to mention one more thing about the book.
Sure.
There is, and we talk about the pillars. I know I talk about a lot of heavy stuff here, but I also make the book somewhat of a comedy read, if you will, because that's one of my other pillars is laughter. And when I'm having an anxiety attack on TV, I try and push a joke out as fast as I can because the gray hates laughter. But so in this book, I tackle the hard stuff with a lot of laughs, and there's a lot of colorful 4-letter words because it ain't nothing pretty about this also. So if you're not about foul language, don't get the book. If you can understand it's part of this, then embrace it. I just wanted to be real, and this is how I talk.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
And The Rock wrote the forward, and he never does forwards. And when I asked him about it, he said, I don't do it because everybody else gets mad, but I think you're going to be a voice for all of us in the gray. And he has since started talking about his mental health and depression.
Yeah. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Very proud.
Keep spreading. I'll tell you, I'll be honest, I get in streaks where I read a lot of books and don't read a lot of books. I'm in a phase right now where I'm having trouble getting back into a book. I started your book the other night and I'm in, like, I'm hooked. So,
oh, dude, I appreciate it.
I'm also, I mean, the stories are good, but I'm also pumped, right? The lessons that I want to learn too.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. And each
definitely.
chapter, we have a little prescriptive thing of what we've learned in the chapter and what we could use for our lives.
Awesome. Also, the podcast link is shared too. I'm interested to a big podcast guy, so I'll be sure to listen to that too. So let me hop in.
And that also, like, I started that September last year, and it's called Unbreakable, a mental health podcast, and it's people from the world of sports, like we just had Lindsey Vonn on last week, to Michael Phelps, who talk about, to Sean McVay's coaches and players, but also entertainment. We had Guy Fieri on, and it's not just mental health; it's how you've overcome things to get to where you are. So at least the mental wealth as well.
Nice.
And we got David Spade on next week, Freddie Prinze Jr. on this week, and a lot of motivational speakers. And I have therapists on, I have people like Ed Milet on, John Gordon. So I'm trying to run the gamut just to build up our mental health to lead us to a lot more mental wealth.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing it.
Thank you.
Great resources to share. I'm going to hop into the Q&A now. I'm just going to hold up the list here, and there's maybe tough questions, Jay. I don't expect you to answer everything, right? But give your perspective, obviously. So first question from Paul C. I'm just going to read it verbatim. So for a caretaker, how do I take care of myself? How do I take care of a loved one that does not see the bright side of life? Tough question.
Yeah, it is. It's hard. And listen, for me, everybody who tries to help me, a lot of time I am self-loathing and I don't see it also. I just don't see it. And I've pushed a lot of people away, but there's been a lot of people who've stuck by it also. And when I help a lot of people out, and especially in that group, a lot of the veterans, they get really, really, really bitter. And a lot of us tend to have pity parties. I know, I just understand it more of, this is what they're going through. It's what they're going through. And this is my way of being of service. And it's not up to me whether or not they come through the other side. It's up to them. And if they get through, I'm going to be there for them and remind them, that thing tried to break you and didn't. And you came through the other side of that tunnel. So now let's use that for the rest of our lives.
That's big, right? Yeah.
Yep.
If you can make it through, I mean, that's huge.
Yep. I had a veteran named Elliot Ruiz, who was the first vet I helped before I ever started MVP. And Elliot come in every day, he's a Marine, couldn't look you in the eyes, had his head down. And man, you talk about gray. And I said to him one day, what's going on with you? Like, why do you never look at us in the eye? And why are you always so full of the sadness? And he said, well, I was on a mission, and we rescued these American POWs, a woman named Shoshana Johnson, first African-American woman, POW, rescued them. The bad guys tried to get her back. Truck came in, I shot up the truck flipped over, hit razor wire took my leg, took me on a ride. I've now had 17 surgeries. It actually gave him multiple sclerosis, which I didn't know you could get. Again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know. And he's like, my wife has to put my pants on for me in the morning, help me out. And I said, hold on, back up. Did you just say you saved American POWs? And he said, well, yeah, but no. Did you just say you saved American POWs? He said, yeah, but there's no but. You saved American POWs. I said, dude, from now on, when you walk around, I want you to see, look at everybody and hold your eyes, not down here, but up here, a little bit above the rest of us, and say, I ain't like the rest of you, I'm different. And he said, well, am I just supposed to change the way I view myself? I said, yes, today, absolutely. Because why wouldn't you? You got two choices. Do it your way or do it this way. Doesn't this way sound much better? He said, so I'm just supposed to change the way I view myself. I said, bro, you saved American POWs. You don't think that's different? He goes, no, that's different. I said, okay, that's the first thing. I said, starting today, start changing the way you view yourself. And let's just try that as an experiment, see what happens. And he did. And man, he went on and he has become extremely successful ever since. And really out of him was born a whole charity. And that's how we all kind of, we gotta view things, even when we're in our self-loathing, we got to figure out ways, something we can hold on to get our eyes to go from here, even if they go here, but start bringing them all the way up here.
Yeah, that's powerful. Actually, that's a good transition to this next question we have. So Denise is asking, it's more like how do you know when people that look happy and successful, how do you know they're struggling if they don't say? I think that maybe that one's a little more obvious, but how do you know?
No, I think we don't. And that, we have a great way of hiding it. I create a whole character on TV, the Glaze, right? Every time you see me on TV, I'm laughy, jokey, happy, and it's a mask. So you don't know. That's why you got to ask. And so I went up to this football player recently. I said, how you doing, man? He said, he's a perennial Pro Bowler, made a ton of money, just retired. I said, how you doing, bro? He said, doing great, Jay. I said, good to hear. He said, I'm living in a mansion overlooking the ocean. He said, man, I'm just living the dream. I said, that's what I want to hear. Because most of the time these guys finish up and they think, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? And I'm like, there doesn't have to be what's next. Sometimes we can enjoy what we've done already. And I said, most of these guys have to race out for the next thing and then don't enjoy what they've done. And once I said that, he went, okay, it's not true. I'm not doing good. I'm not doing well at all. I'm struggling. I don't know where to go every day. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to go with. I don't know who to, I've always been told that, man, I said, hey, dude, this is where we got to learn to enjoy it. Enjoy what we already do have. But again, if no one tells him that, he's going to continue to just live that lie. And I want all of us to understand any of these things we accomplish, any little things. He's had big things, but any little things, we kind of need to hold on to them as our equity of things we've accomplished, things we've overcome. I actually don't refer to my issues as mental illness. I refer to them as things I've overcome. And I've trained myself to be proud of those.
That's a really good way to put it. Yeah. And I think, yeah, you should be proud, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you're framing it in your mind anyways, you know?
It didn't break me.
Exactly. We got a lot of good questions. I'm going to try to get as many as we can. We're going to end a couple minutes before the hour. So here's one that people who may be going through talking to a therapist. So how do you advocate for yourself with your mental health professional to get the support you really need? So this is from an anonymous attendee. They said they've been going to different therapists for years. They weren't always helpful, but sometimes they weren't unhelpful necessarily, but sometimes it's all too much to just practice a little mindfulness. So how do you get the help you really need out of your therapist?
I switch a lot too. I kind of tend to go through things. I just won't stop working on myself. And sometimes I'll find one that really does help for a while. And then I'll almost feel like, okay, I'm good now. And there is kind of no, okay, I'm good now for me. But with that, I think, the more, I also tend to have those pity parties where I don't hear what they're saying the way I need to. So I'm trying to really hear them and not say, like my friend Elliot was doing, yeah, but. Almost trying to show them, no, look how lousy things are for me. Yeah, but this and yeah, but that. And I tend to catch myself now and try not to do it when I go into a therapy session, but I did it this morning. So if I'm successful not doing the yeah, but 75% of the time, that's better than I used to do it. So even I'm a work in progress. I'm a work in progress. I have better ways to handle it, but they're not all. And that's the other thing I want everybody on here. Don't beat up on yourself. Like there is no perfect way. Here I am talking about all this and I have everything at my disposal and I'm still not there. So don't beat up on yourself. It's okay. Like we're going to, whatever you do in life, nothing's done 100%. So the times that we struggle at it, that's okay. Let's just get back on the horse and try it again.
I think you're right. And obviously easier said than done, but right, every day a little bit better than yesterday. Incremental progress is absolutely what you need to focus on.
And everybody on here who's saying, I want to go to a therapist and I'm going to get there. Do it today. It's the best weapon I've had in my life is never procrastinating. I do things now. I get them done now. And, I used to come from a world of procrastination, a life of procrastination, and I don't anymore. And that's one of the things that has gotten me, allowed me to be where I am. And listen, I also live in a world where I'm constantly exhausted from this nonstop exhaustion, but I still make sure I do not procrastinate. I do things today. I make that decision to change today. I don't hold off on that. And then I act on it. I don't just do it. I act on it. I guarantee you act on things. No one makes progress and doesn't feel better.
Yeah.
You'll feel better.
Acting is huge. Absolutely. Yes. I want to ask one more question. It's a tough one again, and then we'll wrap things up. So you talked about having, friends, family, support structure. I'm grateful to have my support structure at home. What can you do when you don't have a support structure? This person, Paul, had said, my depression actually makes me push people away.
Yeah.
Also not very socially minded following a divorce. So
this is what you do. And that's what I've said to people. I said, listen, I know my depression pushes you away and I don't want that. So I'd love some help. So I'll actually go back to people I've actually done that to and say, hey, you got a second here? I know I've pushed away. I've sabotaged. And I don't mean to. I suffer from depression, anxiety, and I've hit it for all these years. And that's what gets me to do it. I don't want to do that anymore. So I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm sorry for doing that. And listen, it's not easy being Jay Glazer's friend. I'm not gonna lie to you. I do have a lot of friends, so I'm grateful for that. And it's a lot of times I don't see it. And those who I had pushed away, I've gone back and said that now. And, we have a lot of guilt for things like that. And I work on forgiveness for that as well. So the more we can give ourselves, and yes, open up to those people that you feel you've pushed away, but also you probably do have other teammates. Like I said, I'm a big God guy, and this is not pushing faith and religion on anybody. That's my choice. I look at God as like a best friend parent who just listens. I'm not asking to get me a job or make me rich or get me this or get me that. Just somebody to listen to. Like I said, I got a dog that I leaned into. My dog was my team also. My son is a teammate. Now, like I said, it took 53 years for me to find that life partner, teammate. 53 years, which can show us all it's never too late.
Yeah, thank you, Jay. I think that's a good place to wrap things up. I think we came full circle, even talking about acknowledging.
Right.
It's a big part of it is acknowledging where you're at. My dogs are my teammates too. People probably heard them bark, so I apologize.
Well, I saw you pushing things out of the way. I didn't know what it was.
I was just trying to get their attention, so tell them to calm down. But I just want to say thank you for everybody for joining. We have a couple more slides to go over real quickly. And then thank you so much, Jay, for joining us.
Amazing. I'm so proud.
Sharing your story.
I'd like to say I'm proud to walk this walk with everybody. And I wrote this book, not just for everybody else out there, but so I could have new teammates as well. So I appreciate you.
Yeah. And then we want everybody else to join our team at Meetup too. We want to help everybody with our resources. So if you scan this QR code here, it's also shared in the chat. We have a lot of resources we put together related to mental health. So feel free to use that, join the Meetup team, join Jay and I, and take advantage of all those resources we have for you. As a reminder to everyone, you can view this recap of the event in a few days. It'll be on the Meetup Community Matters blog, and it'll be on our YouTube page. Again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for your questions. A big thanks to Jay. Really appreciate you coming out. Like I said, being open and honest, but helping, give a voice to the struggle you're going through and helping everyone else kind of find their voice, hopefully, through this discussion. So thank you again.
Thank you. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate it. Again, we're changing that from struggle to things we've overcome. Let's all keep walking this walk together.
Love it. Awesome. Thank you.